Hi, welcome to Strength Reversed. It's Amy. Thank you so much for being here today for my second quarterly catch up of 2022. This is everything I've been up to in April, May, and June of this year. And I have a lot to get through, so I'm going to try to talk fast and not get off topic. So I have books, yoga and physical stuff, tarot and tarot tube, some miscellaneous, and some shows that I've watched, because I watch too much TV. I am also burning Lilac Garden. This is a summer scent, and it was one of the candles that Jason from Tarot by the Pine sent me as a happy end of the school year gift. And I already did Smell-O-Vision for Reset. This one, I usually don't like a lot of floral candles because they can be overpowering, but this one is very subtle. It's purple, which is my favorite color, but it really does smell like lilacs, and it smells like maybe it rained and then you went outside and there was a breeze and you got the faint smell of lilacs on the breeze. It's really relaxing and summery. I was thinking like writing a summary, and so that didn't sound right, but okay. I will start with books. I talked about this book a little bit in my last one, and I finished this one. It is called Nevermore by William Shortsburg, and it is about Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and Houdini trying to solve a series of murders that were based on Edgar Allan Poe stories. And it's very well written. I feel like it could have been tightened up a little. I wasn't super satisfied with the ending, but it's worth a read, especially if you are a Poe fan or a Houdini fan. Now, the first book of this series, this is the Alfred Kropp series by Rick Yancey. This is an author who is local to my area in Florida, and so, one of the settings in this book is a place that we've been to and that is very close to our house, and so it was kind of fun to have that in the book. This one is The Seal of Solomon, and I'm reading this with my son. It's a young adult novel, but I would read it even if he didn't want to read it. There's a third book, The 13th Skull. They're so good. They're funny. They're fast-paced. They should be movies, totally. And so even if you like fantasy or sci-fi or action, you'll like this one. They're so good. They're so good. I also read this one very quickly. This is called The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, and it was so good. I just said that about the last one, but this one's really good too. This is about a woman who is very unhappy in all aspects of her life, and she happens to almost die. And so she goes to this place between life and death called the Midnight Library, and it has an infinite number of books in it, and they are all possible versions of her life. Like, if you had only chosen to do this, what would your life have looked like? And so she can actually go into those lives and see what would have happened if she had done or hadn't done that thing that she regretted. And so she learned that that doesn't always make you happy. When people have regrets, like, what if only I had done this or that didn't necessarily fix their whole life. And she does meet other people who are in between and who are jumping from life to life to life. And it's a very interesting concept. And I read it as Michael and I were driving. We went on a little overnight and we drove there and drove back, and I read this whole book in that time. It was one of those books that I couldn't wait to find out what happened next. And it's hard for me to find those lately. I also have this book, The Wheels of Life, and this is here's the author's name. Her last name is Judith. It's a very comprehensive guide to the chakra system. If you're into chakras, I would highly recommend it. It made me understand the chakra system in a, I think, more accurate way, in a way that I hadn't totally understood it before. And there's a lot of information about each chakra and how they work together and how it connects to physical health, to emotional health, to your day-to-day life. And I would highly recommend this book. Another book that I haven't read too much of, I got it recently at my local used bookstore, is Meditations on the Tarot. This is just the majors. And it is a journey into Christian Hermeticism, and it was written anonymously and posthumously per the author's wishes. It's very dense. Think of 78 Degrees of Wisdom, but more dense. But it is it's fascinating to read. So I haven't read too much of it, but this is what I'm starting on right now. Okay, as far as, physical activities, I talked a lot in the past about what yoga poses I'm working on, and lately I have put yoga on the back burner for some reason. It just is one of those things that ebbs and flows for me. I still do yoga once in a while, but I'm having a hard time having an attention span for yoga. But I do, anyway, so I've been doing lots and lots of walking. Now I still go to the gym. I go to Orange Theory, and I do that multiple times per week. And then I'm talking about the things that I do like in between that. I'm doing lots of walking and some trail running. I do not run on concrete. It is not enjoyable. It does not feel good, but I do like running in nature and running like on paths in the woods, and that feels good to me. I have been continuing to roller skate, but I'm at a point where I'm feeling very frustrated with it because it might be my age and the fact that, I don't know if you know, that as you get older, your balance and equilibrium are affected. And I don't know if it's just harder for me to balance, or if I know that I'm a very cautious person, and so that might have some influence on why I'm not picking up things as quickly. But I see a lot of teeny boppers or 20-year-olds or whatever on Instagram or on YouTube who it's like, I'm in month 2 of skating, and they're doing all sorts of shit. And I don't know if they skate 8 hours a day and that's how they got to that place after 2 months or what. But I watch a lot of tutorials, and those are starting to be frustrating because it will be a tutorial on stopping quickly. And they'll say, well, you should start with the plow stop, but that's not what they're doing. Or here's how you spin or change directions, and what they teach you is not what they're doing. Like, your feet aren't doing that. And so I'm just kind of getting pissed off. But I still do love to go out and roller skate around in a circle. So maybe I'll stick to that. On TarotTube, I have been I've joined Rosemary on Good Journeys Tarot for 3 videos in her 78 cards in 78 weeks series, where she is creating her own tarot deck. And it's really fun to see her go through that process. So I joined her for Strength, for the 3 of Swords, and for the Hanged Man with Gerald and Tarot Stash. And I have enjoyed that, and I'm sure I will be on another one of her videos hopefully in the future, but she's live every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern, and it's a good time. So it's really fascinating to watch someone create the deck and to have them explain why they chose each symbol. I'm doing tarot brunches. I've done a couple, and I'm going to be doing another one with Carla from Carla Astrology and Maria from Lady Knight of Avalon. The next one is on the 16th, and that will be the 6s in the tarot deck. So Lovers, Devil, and the 6s. And we'll have other guests too. So I'm looking forward to that. I have been doing more in-person readings. I'm not really going to hang out my shingle as a full-time reader, or I don't know if I'm going to be doing readings online for people at all, but I am feeling more called to read for other people. And so that's been happening a little bit, and that's good. And I've been doing also some more meditation and journaling because I am having kind of another like flare up with my eye problem, which is probably some sort of autoimmune thing. And Michael and I went to Tarpon Springs, Florida, just as like a quick getaway. And that is near Tampa. It's on the Gulf Coast. And they have a shrine to St. Michael there, which has been the site of some miracles. And it's a place where I really wanted to go. They have sponge docks there because they are the sponge fishing capital of the world. And we went to the beach and just walked on the beach. It's very pretty. It's a historic little town, and so there are lots of just beautiful homes to see. And but I wanted to go to the shrine, and so we went to the shrine of St. Michael, and I'm asking for my miracle. Okay, so you guys know I watch too much TV. I have 3 categories of shows here that I've been, watching over the past 3 months. The first category is fluff, and then some documentaries, and then true crime. So we'll go through the fluff first. On HBO Max, I tried to write down this time where I saw these shows. I don't have cable. I just have a bunch of streaming services that... Well, I won't say that in case okay. Julia is on HBO Max, and it is about Julia Child, and I'm sure it is based on her life, but I'm also sure that they have taken a lot of liberty with it. I really liked it. It was just entertaining to watch, and she seemed like she was such a nice person, just a genuinely nice person. And it's about how she got her cooking show off the ground after she published her first cookbook. And it really was her own doing. Like, she really put her heart and soul into her cooking show, The French Chef. And it's just a fun little show. I watched The Imitation Game on Netflix. I couldn't tell you who's in it. It's someone famous, okay, but it's about Alan Turing, who kind of invented the computer, and this was during World War II, where they had to figure out the German code, and so they built this computer to do it. It was good. It was interesting. My son and I are watching some old movies because he wants to, at night we will put a movie in, and he likes to watch old movies, which are movies from when I was a kid. And so of course we've watched Back to the Future and all those kinds of movies, but we've been watching like really old movies and some Alfred Hitchcock, but also movies like The China Syndrome, and which was ahead of its time, okay, and The Andromeda Strain, and I kind of white-knuckled that because I'm super claustrophobic. So if you're looking for something to watch, you can watch those movies, okay? The Andromeda Strain, The China Syndrome, and all those like old 70s or early 80s movies. I think I had watched, and I didn't write this down, but I think I had watched a documentary about 3 Mile Island, and that's why we ended up watching The China Syndrome. So if you want to watch the 3 Mile Island documentary, that was fascinating because I do remember that happening vaguely, but I was a kid, and so I don't think I understood the ramifications of a nuclear power plant disaster. Okay, and then Michael and I watched The Cleaner on Netflix, which is a movie with Samuel L. Jackson. It was only okay. Okay, he's a former cop and now he's a crime scene cleaner, and which, I'm all over that, but it was kind of one of those things where, the person that you're supposed to suspect the least, of course, is the person who did it. And so it was easy to right away. Like, I just watch too much true crime to fall for that. Okay, so right away you kind of know who did it. It was okay. We watched, now this could be called true crime, but I put it in fluff. We watched American Crime Story, the impeachment, the impeachment season, which is season 3. The first season was O.J. Simpson. The second season, I forget, but it was good. And the third season is the impeachment. Oh, Bill, what are we going to do with you? This was on Hulu. It was good. It's interesting to look back at something that, and see how your perspective changes with, many years have gone by, because when that actually happened, I think I was in college, and so I had different values and different interest levels and what my government was doing, and I felt bad for Monica Lewinsky, because they really made her out to be this crazy, emotional girl, just like young girl. But was she 20 or something? She was really young, and she had this powerful man giving her attention, but they kind of, I won't say they blamed her, but they made her look really kind of pathetic, and I don't know. I watched a documentary on Netflix called White Hot, the story of Abercrombie and Fitch, and it was about how the store Abercrombie, how they would, they wanted a very specific aesthetic, and so they looked only for certain kinds of models, and they would rate the attractiveness of their employees, and they would kind of have managers say, okay, these are the people who can be on the floor dealing with customers, and these are the people who have to like stock boxes in the back because they're not pretty enough and they're not, maybe white enough. And it was like, wow. Now, I'm too old to have shopped at Abercrombie. When Abercrombie was a thing, I was not into that look. I was more, wearing ripped jeans and black lipstick and teasing my hair out. I wasn't trying to look like someone who lived in the Hamptons. And so I never shopped at that store even one time. I do know the store smelled. It stunk and it gave me a sinus headache. So I would just kind of walk by and, shake my head at these people who were dumb enough to shop at that store. Like, I was very snobby about it. There's also a series, I did not watch every episode, but it's on HBO Max, and it's called Not So Pretty, and it's about the beauty industry. Now, different episodes have different topics, like hair care or lipstick or whatever, or the nail industry, and how a lot of nail salons just have really harsh chemicals and people get health problems from it. I did end up, because of one of the episodes, going through all of my makeup and everything in my linen closet and stuff, and I got rid of everything that had talc in it because it has formaldehyde, probably. Not formaldehyde, asbestos. So, yeah, it did make me take inventory. Now, one thing I didn't like is that, for example, the hair care episode, instead of talking about shampoo in general, they mostly kind of, ripped apart this one brand. And it did have major issues. I forget what the name of it was. But anyway, it's very informative. Okay. Some of the documentaries I've watched, I watched one, and this was a while ago, it was probably back in April, on Prime, called Letter to Son, and it is heartbreaking. It was about a guy whose best friend was murdered by the woman he was in a relationship with, and they had an infant son together, a young son, and so this guy decided to travel all over the country interviewing this guy who had like all these friends, and he was making basically a documentary so that when the son was older, he would be able to know his dad. And the parents of the guy who was murdered had to, I mean, it was just incredible. They had to kind of make nice with this crazy woman who murdered their son so that they could see this grandchild. I don't know how they did it. And it has a very tragic ending. The story ends very tragically. So it was just incredible. I watched Bad Vegan, and I think I forgot to include it in the first quarterly catch up. It was so bad. If you go online, people are confused about whether this was serious or not. Is this a mockumentary? People ask. It should be called like Dumb Girl with no common sense, makes bad choices, and has no boundaries. That's what it should be called. I'm not sure why they focused on the vegan aspect of it. It was kind of this attitude like, oh, someone who's vegan or eats raw food, they must inherently be a good person or a more enlightened person or some sort of better person. I don't like that attitude. So she and this guy, here is the intro. If you look at the synopsis, you won't even get past the first sentence of the synopsis before you're like, what? After marrying a mysterious man who claimed he could make her dog immortal. Okay, I'm just going to stop there. And then I mistakenly watched a documentary on Discovery Plus about the Amityville house. And I regret ever watching that because this was several months ago that I watched it, and even just the other night, I woke up between 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning and was so terrified that I couldn't go back to sleep. If you are someone who's sensitive to scary stuff, do not recommend. But it's a true story, and that's what makes it so incredibly scary. Okay. In true crime, I watched Candy. Now this could easily go into Fluff. Candy on Hulu. And this is it's not a documentary, but it was a true crime that happened in Texas. This woman named Candy Montgomery stabbed a friend of hers, I think it was 40 something times, and got off because she claimed self-defense. Only in Texas, okay? And Jessica Biel played her. It was good, but it's very frustrating because then I immediately wanted to look on the internet and find all sorts of information about the real Candy. She is a therapist in Georgia now. Okay. Now I watched Keeper of the Ashes, which was frightening. This was about 3 Girl Scouts who got brutally murdered at a Girl Scout camp in Oklahoma. If you could imagine going to Girl Scout camp and then waking up in the morning and 3 little girls were murdered. I was a Girl Scout. I do not remember this happening, and I think I would have been a similar age. Anyway, Kristen Chenoweth narrates this and inserts herself into this story, and the only connection she has is that she was supposed to go to that camp and couldn't go because she was sick, and so her mom wouldn't let her go. Other than that, she didn't really even know these girls very well, and it has nothing to do with her other than the fact that she was from Oklahoma. And there were several reviews that really criticized that she made it about herself in a really disgusting way. But they got off track a little bit because the person who they suspected of the crime was a serial rapist who was a convicted rapist who had broken out of jail and had been eluding the cops for like a number of years, but stayed in the area kind of taunting the cops. And people tried to say that because he was Native American that it was racist for them to consider him, but he actually legit was the one who did it. I'll Be Gone in the Dark is also terrifying. It is about, well, it's about the work of Michelle McNamara, who's married to the actor Patton Oswalt, and was in this documentary. And she was a writer who was obsessed with true crime, and she did tons and tons of research and digging and investigating the Golden State Killer. And she passed away before they caught him, but a lot of the research and the investigating that she did, writing, I think, a book about it, is what led to him being captured. And she passed away due to a drug overdose, but they played a lot of her voicemails and text messages, and so a lot of this is told in her voice, and it's definitely worth watching. That's on HBO Max. I'll Be Gone in the Dark. And then I watched The Staircase. Now, I watched the original 2004 documentary on Netflix, and this is about Michael Peterson, who was accused of, I guess, maybe beating his wife or pushing her down the stairs, and she died at the bottom of a staircase. This was the HBO dramatization of that with Toni Collette and Colin Firth, and I love both of those actors, and I subscribe to the owl theory. I think that explains everything, and is also terrifying that an owl can kill you. Okay, well, if that wasn't enough, I will get back to watching more TV probably as soon as today. And I'm really watching everyone else's catch-ups because I really get book ideas from people's monthly, updates, not just for tarot, but just good books to read. I don't know how much time I will have because I am teaching a brand new course this upcoming school year, and so I have a lot of preparation to do, and so I've been doing boring stuff like updating my syllabus and just stuff that only teachers get excited about. Okay, I hope you guys had a good 4th of July, and I will see you for my next quarterly catch-up, September, end of September. Okay, bye guys.